Namaste students. In the previous class you have learned the important parts, that is central nervous system. In that brain and spinal cord you have studied. Now we can study in today's class, that is a peripheral nervous system as well as the reflexes. Peripheral nervous system, its divisions as well as the reflexes we are going to study. Peripheral nervous system, it is called as PNS. This peripheral nervous system comprises the nerves that connects the central nervous system with the different parts of the body. Means it includes the nerves which carry impulses to and from the central nervous system. This peripheral nervous system is divided into somatic and autonomic nervous system. It divided into somatic and autonomic nervous system. First, we can focus somatic nervous system. Somatic nervous system, it includes both motor neurons and sensory neurons. Somatic nervous system, it includes both motor neurons and sensory neurons. The fibers of motor and sensory neurons are bundled together into nerves. The fibers of motor and sensory neurons are bundled together into nerve. Now we can study the types of nerves which are present in the somatic nervous system. It has two sets of nerves. First one is cranial nerves, second one is the spinal nerves. First, cranial nerves. It emerges from the brain. Cranial nerves, it emerges from the brain. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves are there. It emerges from the brain. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves are there. Example, optic nerve for eyes, auditory nerve for ears, mixed nerve for face. So these are the examples for cranial nerves. It emerges from the brain. Next one is spinal nerves. Spinal nerves emerges from the spinal cord. There are 31 pairs are there. There are 31 pairs spinal nerves are there. Every spinal nerve is a mixed nerve having both sensory and motor fibers. Every spinal nerve is a mixed nerve having both sensory and motor fibers. Next, autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system, or ANS, consists of a pair of chains of nerves and 22 pairs of ganglia. It lies on either side of the backbone, close to the spinal cord, and are associated with the organs they control. ANS is a motor system consisting of neurons that control the functioning of many organs. This system controls the involuntary actions of the internal organs. There are two types, sympathetic system and parasympathetic system. The two systems are different in structure and function. The two systems send signals to the same organs but have opposite effect on their action. So, they can be said to be antagonistic to each other in their function. Here, two systems we can see in ANS, that is a sympathetic system and parasympathetic system. And the two systems, when they act on same organs, but their effect is opposite. When they act on the same organ, but their effect is opposite. First, we can study sympathetic nervous system. In sympathetic nervous system, they arises from the spinal cord between the neck and the waist region. Here, the sympathetic nervous system arises from the spinal cord between the neck and waist region. Between the neck and waist region, so what are the nerves will come? That is the sympathetic nervous system. This system prepares the body for violent action against abnormal conditions. The sympathetic nervous system, it prepares our body for the violent action against the abnormal conditions. This system is stimulated by the hormone adrenaline secreted by the adrenal gland. So, this sympathetic nervous system is stimulated by the hormone, that is adrenaline. It is secreted by the endocrine glands. For example, the action of sympathetic nervous system, you can see, you can take the heart. Heart is an organ. So, sympathetic nervous system, it accelerates the heartbeat, means it increases the heartbeat. When we are not in a normal condition, at that time it increases the heartbeat. So, in the same time, you can see another organ in intestine. Peristalsis decreased. In the intestine, the peristalsis movement will decrease. And in the pupil of the eye, you can see the dilation of the pupil takes place in the eye region because of the action of sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system, it prepares our body for the violent action against abnormal condition. This is the sympathetic nervous system. Next, parasympathetic nervous system. This system is located at two places. One anteriorly in the head and neck, and the other posteriorly in the sacral region. It is located anteriorly in the head and neck region, and other posteriorly in sacral region. Sacral is a part of the vertebral column. This system is more concentrated with re-establishing normal conditions after the violent act is over. After finishing of violent act, it brings our body to the normal condition. So that is the main function of parasympathetic nervous system. I already said heart in the sympathetic nervous system, it accelerates the heartbeat. When we come to the normal condition, it brings our heartbeat to the normal condition. The parasympathetic nervous system, it brings the heartbeat to the normal condition after finishing the violent action. And the pupil also. In the sympathetic system, dilation of the pupil takes place. When we come to the normal condition after finishing the violent action, so pupil constriction takes place, means the pupil constrict the pupil, that is brought by the parasympathetic nervous system. Another one you can see in the lacrimal gland. Because of the sympathetic nervous system, stimulate the secretion of tears. When we are in a violent action, at that time the tears will come from the eyes because of the lacrimal gland. After finishing that violent action, inhibit the secretion, means it stops or it reduces the secretion. The reduces secretion takes place because of the parasympathetic nervous system. So parasympathetic nervous system, it brings our body to the normal condition after the violent act is over. Here in the table you can see effects of the two parts of autonomic nervous system. I already said organ. So what will happen? Because of the violent action, the sympathetic nervous system brings some of the changes in our body. After finishing the violent action, parasympathetic nervous system brings our body organs to the normal condition. Some examples are there in the chart, so you can go through this chart. In an exam, they will give the this sympathetic and parasympathetic action together. You have to separate it. So, which will comes in the sympathetic nervous system, you have to separate, and which will come to the parasympathetic, you have to separate. So, in the examination, so like these questions, they will ask about this parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. Next, types of actions. There are two types actions we can see in our daily life also we are performing. First one is voluntary actions, second one is involuntary actions. First, voluntary actions. Voluntary actions performed consciously. So, voluntary actions means it performed consciously. By knowingly, we are doing this one. So that is the voluntary actions. For example, if you wish to switch on the TV to watch some program, so we are thinking and we are doing the work. So that are voluntary actions. And to know the time, you raise your arm and look at the watch on your wrist to know the time. So we are looking the watch, we are tied in the wrist region. So these are the voluntary actions. By knowingly we are doing the actions, voluntary actions. Involuntary actions, it is also called as reflexes. Actions which occur unknowingly without our will. It involves some kind of sensory stimulation. Involuntary actions means some of the actions are doing unknowingly without our will. Without our will, so we are doing unknowingly. Without thinking, we are doing that action immediately. So, but for involuntary actions, it requires some of the sensory stimulation. So that is called involuntary actions. For example, immediately withdrawal of hand when it accidentally touches a hot iron. So if you touch the hot iron accidentally, immediately we are withdrawing our hand. We are not thinking whether we have to withdraw the hand or not. No, unknowingly we are doing the action. So that is called involuntary actions. Involuntary actions is also called as reflexes. Next, differences between voluntary actions and reflexes or involuntary actions. So first, in the reflexes or in the involuntary actions, initiated by some stimulus. It requires some of the stimulus. The stimulus may be touch, pain, pressure, heat, light, etc. But voluntary actions initiated by a willing thought. By thinking, we are doing the actions. Next point. In the involuntary actions, mainly self-protective due to environment. Yeah, because of the self-protection, we are doing that action. But a voluntary action, fulfillment of a desired goal. To fulfill our goal, so we are doing the sum of the actions. For example, if you want to score the good marks, so your action is you are reading the daily you have to do the practice, daily you have to read. So because you have to reach your goal, so that is a voluntary action. Next, commands originate mostly in the spinal cord and autonomic nervous system and a few in the brain as well. Here, the sum of the commands originate in the spinal cord region or autonomic nervous system or in the brain region. In the voluntary actions, commands originate in brain because thinking, intelligence, it is located in the brain, that is in the cerebrum region. Next, in the involuntary actions involve muscles and glands. A response is shown by the muscles or glands. But in voluntary actions, it involves only muscles. Only muscles shows the response. That is a voluntary actions. So these are the differences between the voluntary and involuntary actions. Next, types of reflexes. There are two types of reflexes we can see. First one is simple or natural or inborn reflexes. Second one is conditioned or acquired reflexes. First we can study simple or natural or inborn reflexes. In this type of reflex, brain is not involved. So in this type of reflex, brain is not involved. No previous experience or learning is required. For this type of reflex, no need of a previous experience or no need of any learning experiences. These reflexes are inherited from the parents. It will come from their parents. It is inherited from parents to offsprings. It will transfer. It is a natural response and will occur even in newborn babies. For example, blinking of eyes when strong light falls on the eyes, and coughing, sneezing, these are the protective reflex. Salivation, swallowing, peristalsis, these are the functional efficiency. Because of functions of the organs, we are showing these actions. And these actions do not require any previous learning experiences. For example, salivation, swallowing, we no need of require any previous experiences, or blinking of our eyelids, coughing, sneezing. These are our inborn. By birth only it will come with us. So that is called as a natural. It will come from parents to offspring. No need of the previous experiences. So this is called simple or inborn or natural reflexes. And some common inborn reflexes we can see. Knee jerk, in which the leg is involuntarily extended as a result of a sharp tap below the kneecap in a relaxed leg rested on the other leg while sitting. So while sitting, how we are sitting, so that posture, that is knee jerk. So that posture, so here kneecap in a relaxed leg is rested on the other leg while sitting. So this is one of the natural reflexes. As well as the withdrawal of the hand or any part of the body when suddenly pricked. Peristaltic reflexes, coughing reflexes, sneezing reflexes. So these are inborn reflexes. Second, condition or acquired reflexes. These are the reflexes which develops during lifetime due to experience or learning. The sum of the reflexes, it comes to our life because of previous experience or learning. While learning also we are acquiring some of the reflexes. This reflex is an involuntary, spontaneous, automatic response brought about due to a previously learned experiences. We are showing the actions because of the previously learning experiences. It is involuntary, spontaneous and automatic responses. For example, watering of mouth, that is salivation at the sight of tasty food. Salivation is inborn, yes, but when our tasty food is in front of us, then salivation started, no? That is a condition. For example, if the fish is in front of us, those who like that fish, in their body salivation will start. Those who don't know its taste, at that time the salivation does not take place in their mouth. So watering of mouth at the sight of tasty food. Tying one's shoelace, tying the shoelace. We are not learning it by born only. Tying our shoelace in the lifetime, we are learning that one, how to tie the shoelaces. By birth only we don't know how to tie this. And applying brake of your cycle when someone comes in front. So you are learning how to put the brake, how to ride this bicycle. So this is in the lifetime we are learning. Playing a musical instrument. Yes, many of the students, they will go for the music classes. As well as they go for the some to learn the instrument. So it is in the lifetime they are learning. By birth they don't know how to play the musical instrument. So while going to the classes they are learning this one. So this is the condition reflexes. So we can say condition reflexes as well as the inborn or natural reflexes. All reflexes are involuntary, not under the control of will. But all involuntary actions are not reflexes. All involuntary actions are not reflexes. Certain voluntary actions, by consciously repeating them with a specific stimuli, can become involuntary, and such actions are called conditioned reflexes. Certain voluntary actions, by consciously repeating them with a specific stimuli, can become involuntary. Some of the voluntary actions will become involuntary because of repeating of that action. So such actions are called as conditioned reflexes. A classical example of developing a conditioned reflex is that of Pavlov's experiment on a dog. This famous Russian biologist noted that under normal conditions, no animal will secrete saliva in response to the ringing of a bell or to any other sound. But when a bell was repeatedly sounded simultaneously with the presentation of food during an adequate period of training, the dog salivated at the sound of the bell even when there was no food at that time. Here Pavlos, he conducted the experiment on dog, that is a condition reflexes. He gave the food for the dog, at that time the salivation started in the mouth of the dog. After a few days, he gave the bell, but he did not supply the food. At that time, there was no salivation in the dog food. After a few days, after ringing the bell, he supplied the food, and dog salivation takes in the mouth of the dog. Salivation takes place. After a few days, the dog addicted for that bell. After the bell, food will come. After a few days, he ringing the bell but did not supply the food. Because of hearing that bell, salivation takes place in the mouth of the dog. That is a conditioned reflexes. Next, differences between a simple and conditioned reflex. First one, simple reflex. Inborn, required no previous experiences. It is a inborn or inherited reflex. It does not require any previous experiences. In conditioned reflex, developed by experience or learning. Second, inborn reflex, directly related to the stimulus. Condition, brought about by a condition totally different from the direct initial stimulus. In the inborn, it directly relates to the stimulus, but in condition, it is brought by a condition totally different from the direct initial stimulus. This is not in a directly to the stimulus, so there are different way are there. By a condition totally different from the direct initial of the stimulus. For that stimulus, the same response we cannot expect. Next, similar in all humans, similar among all individuals or any one species. So in natural reflex, it is similar in all humans. For example, sneezing, coughing, it is similar in all human beings. When conditioned reflex differs in different individuals, subject to learning and experiences. Yeah, conditioned reflex, it is different from one person to person. It is depending upon the learning or previous experiences. Next, reflex arc. A reflex arc is the shortest route that can be taken by an impulse from a receptor to an effector. Reflex arc is the shortest route that can be taken by an impulse from a receptor to an effector. Now you can see path of reflex arc. Stimulus, it is received by the receptor in the sense organs. Then it's sent to the sensory nerve fibers or efferent nerve fibers. Through the sensory or efferent nerve fibers, it enters inside the central nervous system, that is brain or spinal cord. In the brain or spinal cord, response will arises. That response is carried by the efferent or motor nerve fibers, and then it goes to the particular effector, that is a muscles or gland. Muscles for the contraction and gland for the secretion. So the path of reflex arc. Or in another way we can see stimulus, it is carried by the receptor, then through the sensory neuron it goes to the brain or spinal cord, then through the motor neuron it goes to the effector, then effector, it shows the response. So this is the reflex arc, simple shortest route that can be taken by an impulse from a receptor to an effector. Receptor, it is a group of specialized epithelial cells in contact with the terminal endings of the nerve cells, which respond to stimulus and convert it into an impulse in a sensory neuron. Sensory neuron, it carries the impulses from sense organs to central nervous system. Central nervous system, it is a region in the spinal cord, or brain, where incoming sensory impulse generates an outgoing motor impulse. In the center, there may be an association neuron between sensory and motor neuron. Motor neuron, it carries impulse generated by the association neuron in the central nervous system to the effector organ, muscles or gland. Effector, it is an organ, that is muscles or gland that respond to motor nerve impulses. These are reflex